And the award for the most dramatic team goes to the Angels. Why? Because they can't just win, right, John? They have to make you think that they're going to lose, and then they make you think you're going to win, and then they make you think you're going to lose again, and then they win. This is what happened yesterday, and we're going to talk about it here on Locked On Angels. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Sirius XM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. Thank you to those that have done so. The 5 stars are appreciated. And those watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you do, enter this promo code Locked On MLB, and they're going to throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every single day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We are here for you 5 days a week, the only daily Los Angeles Angels podcast, the number 1 daily Los Angeles Angels podcast, and that's thanks to viewers and listeners like you. Sound like PBS. Viewers like you. This is made possible in part by. Hey, it's Fanmail Friday, so we got 2 segments of Fanmail Friday coming up, and we've got a recap of yesterday's dramatic game. Mike, I was on the edge of my seat through that whole thing. I mentioned that there's a writer's strike happening, so there's nobody writing TV right now, but you don't need scripted television. You got the Angels and their dramatics, don't you?
Right. And it was a victory, and they split the series, and that was great because this is a good team, the Baltimore Orioles, and we ended yesterday's show by saying, don't fall under 500.
The who?
Don't do it. The Baltimore Orioles. and they didn't. They didn't fall under 500, Johnny, which was fantastic. They're a game over 500, and what an entertaining game. And you know it was an entertaining game because Jeff Fletcher actually tweeted that out. He never shows any sort of emotion, and he tweeted out, what an entertaining game, right?
What a game.
Our boy, Trout, hits another home run.
Yeah.
Looks like he's adjusting, John. How about that?
Weird.
And then Shohei Ohtani hits a home run. They both have 10. Luis Rengifo has 3 hits.
What a game for Louis.
Here's the thing that I appreciated. It was Tyler Anderson, again, eating 5 innings. And I know that he's not the guy that we expected him to be, that he was last year, but him continuing to eat up innings, I think, is really beneficial. And the only thing he's got to really work on is his walk rate, man. He is just really struggling there. And then the bullpen backed him up. Moore and Carlos Estevez, both of those guys, I'll tell you, they are the best signings, or at least one of the best signings for the Angels this last offseason. And then Chris Davinsky, who has been pretty good, he was the reason why this game actually got tied up because he came in and struggled a bit, gave up 2 runs in 1 inning pitch. And then, John, let's just talk about that 9th inning for a moment. That double down the line, and Hunter Renfroe off of his back foot throws a dart to second base and throws out his old college roommate, I believe it was.
Yes, Adam Frazier.
And gets the out, which was incredible. And the Angels were able to come away with a victory. But I'm not doing it any justice, John, so I need you to give us the emotion and the dramatics of this game.
Yeah, the thing about Tyler Anderson, in the books, Mike, 5 innings pitched, 3 runs. You know what a quality start is? 5 innings pitched, 3 runs or less.
Right.
So in the record books, it's a quality start, but it wasn't without its dramatics. Here's what I liked about Tyler Anderson. He got a ton of soft contact. He got a ton of pop-ups. He was placing the changeup on the outside and the inside, getting guys to swing at it and pop it up and do some ground outs. So I feel like this was a step in the right direction. Now, the walks are always going to be an issue, and that certainly needs to be cleaned up. And the home run he gave up was just on a cutter inside, and it caught a lot of the zone. But he was working that cutter in this game. Had he not given up that home run and the 3 runs surrendered, he could have easily gone maybe 6, maybe even 7. And so the thing is the Orioles are an offensive team. They have a great offense and they have a great bullpen. Their starting pitching is somewhat iffy. They can give you decent starts, but they haven't been consistent yet. And the Orioles are obviously one of the best teams in baseball right now. the fact that we've split this series with them, we each took 2, is really reassuring to me, because I was expecting coming in and being competitive, but I was really worried that we were going to lose this series, especially a 4-game set, Mike.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's really important to remember that this is a tough Baltimore team, and it's really great that the Angels were able to come through and win, or not win, but win this game and take this series and split it. I'm looking up a stat here. We have to remember the Angels are 23-22 right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not out of it. Texas is not holding it very tightly to first place.
Right.
The Astros are struggling here and there. I know they beat the Cubs on Wednesday. But here is a tweet from a follower of ours, a listener of ours, Stefan Muma, who said that if the Angels want to get to 90 games, 90 wins, there's exactly 5 9-game sets in a 162-game season. The first 9 games, the Angels went 5-4. The second 9 games, they went 4-5. The third set, they went 5-4. The fourth set, which included the sweep of the Cardinals, they went 6-3. And then this fifth set of 9 games, because Thursday was game 45, they went 3-6. So the progress so far is within these 45 games, they're 2 games short of the 90-win pace.
Yeah.
However, if they finish May going with 15 wins in this month, they'll get that pace back.
Yep.
Because you want to get 15 wins every single month to get to 90 wins, which we believe will put them right in wild card contention and conversation.
Yeah. Here's the big thing about yesterday's game, John. It's game 45. And if Angel fans remember, and I know that they do, it was game 45 when the 14-game losing streak started last year.
Mm-hmm.
And game 45 was when everything fell apart. This year, we got a victory, a great victory, a fun victory, come from behind victory. And I think that is an indicator of where this team is headed. I know that 27-17 looks sexy in the stats from last year, right? But we also have to remember how we got there. We got there with our starters going 3 and 4 innings.
Yeah.
We got there with Joe Maddon bringing in our bullpen and letting them get blown up by the time May and June came around. We got there because there were some not so great decisions that didn't actually affect the team in that moment, but did affect the team after that moment, especially during the 14-game losing streak. So this team on paper is better than last year's team.
Yeah.
And I think that what we're also going to discover is in the next 14 games, now 13 games, I think we're going to see this team take some ground. I know that it's been frustrating to see them go back and forth at 500, over 500, back to 500, now a game over 500. I think that we're going to see these players who are better. I think we're going to see these players really come through, and we're going to start to see us move away from falling back to 500. I think getting to 15 wins at the end of this month is very easily doable.
I'm encouraged by the fact that, Trout gets the 2-run home run yesterday. Ohtani leads off the game in his first at bat, getting a home run, a solo shot. And then he gets the go-ahead run later on with that RBI single. And then you have somebody like Rengifo, who had the 3 hits and the walk, stole second base, and put himself in scoring position for Zach Neto, who came through. Man, it was smart baseball. And it's those kinds of plays and those kinds of moves that people don't give Phil Nevin credit for. They'll say, "Oh, Phil Nevin lost us this game." I thought he made great decisions. I know Davinsky gave up the 2-run shot, but I'll take Davinsky, Moore, and Estevez to finish out the game any day of the week. He also had Andrew Wantz in there as well, and he gave them all clean innings, Mike, and that was the key thing there. And I think if you relate this back to Joe Maddon last season, not enough clean innings for the bullpen. I know that Phil Nevin was on that trajectory to look a lot like Joe Maddon did last season, the way he was being told what to do and whatnot, but I think that's all changed. I think Phil made some great decision-making. That stolen base by Rengifo was critical because they sent him and Neto was able to get him in after that. So that was really encouraging to see. Hey, the Angels play the Twins tonight at 6:38 Pacific time. Our boys are back home after a tough road trip, and we're happy to have them back at the Big A. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. And coming up on Locked On Angels, does David Fletcher have a spot on this team if the Angels want to bring him back, and what needs to happen in order for that to happen? We'll talk about that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at So Rare. So Rare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming you as fans into incredible owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards. There's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. Head to sorare.com/lockedon today. That's spelled SORARE.com. You can draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing to win really incredible rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon. And you can get started today and play today. So go and dominate, please.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, join us Monday as we recap the entire Twins series this weekend. You know, they're an interesting team. I know Carlos Correa was their big offseason acquisition, and he's not doing so great, Mike.
No.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
It's Fanmail Friday. You sent us all sorts of questions, and we've got all sorts of answers. But, John, let's start with a voicemail from our buddy, Tracy.
Hey, guys. Tracy from Henderson, Nevada. Been a while since I chimed in with my 2 cents worth, so here goes. I think Chad Wallach right now is our number one catcher. Is Max Stassi better right now than Chad Wallach? I don't think so. And Ohtani seems to be very comfortable throwing to Wallach. So that's a decision I think that, we don't know the status of Stassi, but that's going to have to be made here pretty quick. Also, when it comes to Gerald Walsh coming back at first base, I'm not sure that that's a lock. Urshela, I think, is going to need to stay in the lineup, and then when Rendon comes back, hopefully sooner than later, there's going to be some moving pieces that have to be put in the right spots. But we're getting a lot of production out of Urshela, and I think he needs to be in the lineup every day. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, and as always, loving the podcast. Light up the halo.
Tracy from Henderson, Nevada, thank you for giving us a call and leaving your voicemail. Mike, Chad Wallach, is he better than Max Stassi right now? If Stassi were to return tomorrow, who are you going with?
I'm going with Chad Wallach, and I've always been a fan of Chad Wallach, and I like Chad Wallach in the position that we have him in, and Chad has always responded to the moments that he has been in, and so I think you got to go with him, and the reason why you got to go with him is because Stassi's been out for so long, and I think that he's obviously going to need a rehab assignment, but even if he comes back, I don't think that you remove Chad Wallach from the rotation of catchers. In fact, I would start him more than I would start Max Stassi. Now, if Stassi gets hot, awesome. And that would be just a benefit to this team. But I think Chad has shown us that he's somebody that can carry this team, the starting pitching and the bullpen, but he's also somebody that can contribute offensively.
Yeah, he's got a hot bat right now, and he's doing a great job. So really, if you look at Max Stassi's last season and you look at what Wallach is doing now, I mean, the most recent data we have for Stassi is what he did in 2022, and it's not great.
Right.
And so to have Chad Wallach back there, I think Tracy makes a really good point. Like, Ohtani likes to pitch to him, and he's filling in very nicely there. Now, he mentioned, is Jared Walsh a lock for returning to first base because of how well Urshela has been doing and Anthony Rendon coming back to play third? Here's what I think about this whole situation. I think that Walsh coming back actually adds a lot of flexibility to that infield and even to the outfield. And I'll explain. We might see Urshela and Walsh split some time at first base based on the opposing pitcher. If they're a lefty, you certainly don't want to put Walsh in against lefties. He's not typically too great against them. I know he had some kind of weird splits in 2022, but typically he does struggle against the lefty. I think Urshela being a lock at third means Rendon can have his time off and we won't have to worry about missing a bat if Walsh is over there at first and Urshela's at third. Walsh might even play the infield. I know we talked about that a lot, and I know that's always been kind of an idea that gets thrown around, but I think this is the year that they're going to actually put that into action, especially with Taylor Ward not being the Taylor Ward of last year, or maybe you even have Hunter Renfroe take a day off and you can put Walsh out there as well, because I would say that if you want to keep some pop in the lineup, I think Jared Walsh gives you that pop. So if Renfroe is off, Jared Walsh can swing it for you. Somebody on Instagram, Darcy Carroll, he wrote us and said, with a question, he wanted to make this point. He said it makes Drury the everyday second baseman, so he has a permanent spot and doesn't have to switch all over the field. So again, I think that there's a lot of flexibility to this team. I think that they'll take advantage of Walsh being in the outfield if they want to keep Urshela's bat in there. If they want to keep Urshela in the lineup, they'll do it against lefties. So I think there's a lot of options here. And again, the versatility just makes this so much easier for everyone all the way around.
Yesterday, our buddy Andrew from Angels Top Plays posted Walshy's stat line, his slash line from AAA. Dude's crushing it. His timing is coming back. Can't wait to see that guy back. All right, Johnny, this is from Joseph Manzer on YouTube. He says, what does a minor league player, any player, have to do to get a shot at the majors? Is it a positional need by the Angels? Is it a numbers issue? What are the options? Is it just a belief that the player has hit a ceiling in the minor leagues? It seems like the Angels are just treading water this season and need a jolt of youth in certain spots. So understandable with the loss of Walsh and Ohtani and Rendon and Stassi being hurt. But what does a minor leaguer need to do, Johnny?
Mike, I think there's kind of a hierarchy to calling up a player, and I think it's this. I think first, it's areas of need, position-wise or pitching-wise. Those guys are going to get their opportunities right away. I think the second hierarchy in that is injury. You see Livan Soto get a call up to give the infield some flexibility with Rendon out. How about him yesterday, by the way?
He likes playing in the major leagues,
yeah,
doesn't he?
No kidding. Minor league stats be danged, right?
Yeah. It's that stupid ball in AA. That's the problem.
That's right. So injury, I think, is the second tier. I think the third tier, Mike, is solving a problem. And the Angels had terrible infield defense, and that's been helped out tremendously by Zach Neto. I think that's why they brought him up so quickly. And then finally, I think it's a guy is just doing so good that you just can't say no. However, I think you got to be careful with that in the case of somebody like Joe Adell, where they have him in the minors for a reason. They want him to cook. They want him to get his confidence back. So as much as he's crushing it right now and making it hard to say no, I think that he's in the exact right spot he needs to be. And I think Mickey Moniak's a great example of you can't say no, because he's been doing great in AAA.
Right.
He's come up and served this team pretty well, splitting time with Taylor Ward out there.
Yeah. A question from Twitter, John, from Scott Freeman, always has some really great things to say. He said Fletch's slash line is really great in AAA. Exactly, actually, what we would hope for in the major leagues. And so he said, what are the parameters or requirements for him to be called back up again? And specifically, Fletch at short. Now, I'll let you answer this one, but I do want to say, like, with Zach Neto's performance at shortstop, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think with the infield we have right now, we have a lot of flexibility in that infield, especially when Jared Walsh comes back. And I think, unfortunately, when it comes to David Fletcher, he might be the odd man out. Do you agree?
I think so. And they wanted to give him everyday reps, and he wasn't getting that at the major league level. And even if he did come back, I don't think he would get everyday reps. And I think that's the concern here. Scott mentioned Neto's defense is great, but his bat isn't. And he mentioned, again, Fletch's stats, batting .299, .380 on base, .725 slugging. What the heck?
Who's that guy?
I know. So obviously, Mike, he's performing well on defense regarding Zach Neto. The areas in which he's performing well at the plate, I want to talk about the bat. He's 85th percentile in the league in whiff rate, so he's not swinging and missing very often. He's in the 93rd percentile in chase rate, and you see that because he's not swinging outside the zone or taking bad swings at pitches outside the zone.
Right.
He's in the 64th percentile in max exit velocity, so he is hitting the ball pretty hard. He's in the 82nd percentile in strikeout rate. So these indicate that he's working and going deep into counts. He's hitting the ball decently hard, and he's got a patient approach. Now, here's what's not working at the plate for Zach Neto right now. The walk rate. He's in the second percentile, Mike, in the entire league.
Yeah.
The hard hit percentage, he's in the 37th percentile, and the barrel percentage, he's in the 44th percentile. Now, here are the two things I want to focus on that aren't so great at the plate. The expected batting average right now for Zach Neto is he's in the 42nd percentile. The expected weighted on base percentage, it uses exit velocity and launch angle, and on certain types of balls, sprint speed. So basically how his bat is connecting with the ball. His expected on base percentage is in the 38th percentile. So essentially this, buckle up nerds, here's all the stats. He's doing a lot of things right at the plate, and the expected numbers, those numbers that give you predictors, those numbers that say, hey, this guy is going to do this. Expected batting average, expected WOBA, those are the two things that can change if Zach Neto makes an adjustment. He's been in the league for just over a month, barely over a month, hitting major league talent, pitching talent for the first time ever. He was playing college last year. So I'm confident that the adjustments will come. And as for Fletcher, going back to him, the Angels made this whole situation way more complicated when they took him off the 40-man roster. They took him off. I'm not quite sure why, but putting him back is going to require DFAing somebody. If they want to bring Fletcher back up, he's got to be on the 40-man. I'm not sure what went into that decision, but it just made things a whole lot more complicated after that.
Today's show is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs is a clothing company that's all about your comfort. John and I recently got 2 pairs of shorts from Bird Dogs, and these shorts are some of the most comfortable shorts we have worn in the entire world, in our entire lives, all right? And I know I'm being dramatic, but I'm actually telling you the truth. We look good and we feel good wearing Bird Dogs. This fabric is stretchy, so it fits you instead of you trying to make it fit. Bird Dogs gives you the freedom to wear a pair of shorts or a pair of pants on the golf course, to a meeting, on a date, or just hanging out with friends. They're casual, they're comfy, and they make you look good. So if you want to be casual, comfy, and look good like we look good, and we know you do, then get yourself a pair of Bird Dogs shorts and pants. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB. And when you do, our friends at Bird Dogs will throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB. You can look good, feel good, and get yourself a pair of pants and shorts to be comfy from Bird Dogs.
Hey, Mike, we got one more voicemail today. Let's check it out.
Hey, John and Mike, this is Max from Corona, California. I'm just calling because I know you guys like to defend Anthony Rendon a lot, saying he does deliver with runners in scoring position. But how can you do that when you're not even available to play in the game? I think Anthony Rendon is literally made out of glass at this point. He's not living up to his contract, to that insane contract that we gave him during the period where we were trying to get Garrett Cole. Like you guys like to say, Artie Moreno likes to give you the next best option or the biggest free agent. But at this point, I think all Halo fans would rather see, Gio instead of Anthony Rendon. And I know you guys like to defend him at that 4 spot, on that cleanup spot. He's not a cleanup hitter, but I guess he performs with runners on scoring position. But if Mike Trout and Ohtani can't get on base, what is Anthony Rendon good for? So that's just my take. Keep up the great work on your show. I'll watch it every day. Thank you.
Max from Corona, thanks for sending in your voicemail and your question about Anthony Rendon. Mike, Rendon not living up to the contract. What do you think?
He's not.
No.
Right. He's not. And
he's not worth $38 million.
Right. He hasn't been healthy, and the amount of time that he's played hasn't been fantastic. I think you shared a stat. He's only been a small percentage of games this year.
Yes.
It's been 78, 79%. When we talked about Rendon, John, we didn't necessarily defend him in that cleanup spot. We talked about his on base percentage and his ability to get on base. So our buddy, was it Max? He said that if Trout and Ohtani don't get on, then what good is Rendon? Well, Rendon is good at drawing a walk. That's where he's good. He's good at getting a single. He's good at hitting doubles. And so in this world, and I would assume, Max, that you're probably a longtime baseball fan like John and I, we are used to leadoff hitter really fast. Second hitter is kind of a ground ball, make contact guy. Third hitter is your high average guy. And then fourth hitter is your Hunter Renfroe, like big bomber type of guy. But in this baseball world, it's not that anymore.
Yeah.
And so you have Trout and Ohtani high in this order because you want to get them as many at-bats as possible. And then you have somebody like Anthony Rendon batting cleanup, because what you need from your cleanup hitter is to move those runners over. What you need from your cleanup hitter is to get on base. What you need from your cleanup hitter is to make contact. And Anthony Rendon does all of those things when he's healthy. And I get it. That's frustrating when he's not healthy.
He's certainly not worth the $38 million that he's getting per year because he hasn't been on the field. But I guess, Mike, here's the thing. You and I are not an echo chamber of Artie needs to sell the team. Rendon's a bust, yada, yada, yada. People come to listen and watch Locked On Angels because we want to tell you what's going on the field. And so far this season, when he's been on the field, Anthony Rendon has been a helpful part of the lineup. Again, is it worth $38 million?
No,
don't think so. However, here's what we have so far. He's got a .415 on base percentage and a .301 batting average. Yeah, and the slugging is pretty sad right now. And here's where I'm going to get into more stats here. He hasn't barreled anything. He has not put the meaty part of the bat on the baseball. He's in the 20th percentile in barrel rate this season. Now, here's the weird thing. He's 74th in average exit velocity, but only 27th in max exit velocity. So he's hitting it hard consistently. He's just not hitting it as hard as everybody else because, again, he's not barreling the ball to the bat.
Right.
He's 62nd in expected slugging. And again, like I mentioned before, that's a predictive number. And as soon as Rendon actually puts the barrel of the bat to the ball, the power is going to return. And let's be honest, Mike, I know people like to complain about Rendon. This is the risk you run when you sign guys in their late 20s. This is why you have to develop well and get your own guys like Jared Walsh and Taylor Ward and Joe Adell, right? Like this is why you need to develop well. Because look at this. Carlos Correa signed with the Twins. He did come back to the Twins, batting .203. He's got an 80 OPS plus, which means he's 20% worse than league average. Trey Turner. Everybody wanted Trey Turner at shortstop. He's batting .262, a .308 on base, a .399 slugging, a .707 OPS. He's got an OPS plus of 94, which is 6% worse than league average. Trevor Story, the prior offseason, everybody thought the Angels should go out and get him. Mike, he hasn't played for the Red Sox since September 11th of 2022.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you sign guys in their late 20s to 7+ year contracts. We saw it with Pujols. We see it with Anthony Rendon. But the Angels are not the only ones to do that. But that's the risk you run when you want a guy like this.
Yeah. Johnny, how about two real rapid fire questions? First, Ken from Pasadena, your neighbor. He asked the question about the Angels training and medical staff with Rendon out and Ohtani out. And he actually brings up, Walsh's mom finding a clinic for him. And then he even mentions how John, your chiropractor actually diagnosed Trout's issue.
Yeah.
And so is there a problem with the Angels medical staff that we can see? Is there something need to be addressed there?
Well, Ken, the first thing I'll say is the Jared Walsh thing. I think that was a kind of a private struggle he was having. So I think that his mom was kind of the one to convince him, like, hey, son, you got to do something about this. So he didn't go to the coaches. I don't think he went to the staff. All they knew was that he needed the thoracic outlet syndrome stuff. But here's where it gets fishy, Mike. The Angels radio, they remember they were directed to not have Sam Blum on the beat writer roundtable.
Right.
That was a John Carpino order because Sam was perceived to be too negative, right? And in solidarity, the rest of the beat writers, Rhett Bollinger and Jeff Fletcher and Sarah Valenzuela, they decided not to join in on it either, because if you're not going to have Sam on, you can't be fair and objective, and we're not going to participate either. Shortly thereafter, Mike, the Angels cut off access to the medical staff for questions and interviews. They said if you have any questions, they could be run through Phil Nevin or what have you. And so good luck getting an answer from the Angels medical staff about anything. And funny enough, Nevin was the one to mention that, Rendon, I know he's on the IL and he's actually feeling better. He probably didn't even need this IL stint, but we just wanted to be safe than sorry. It cracks me up because it's like Rendon could have sat out for 2-3 games and still been on the bench, and he didn't need an IL stint. The whole medical staff stuff is just ridiculous, and it's the way the organization is run that makes this insane right now.
Right. Last question, Johnny, from David Neubauer, a good friend of ours. He asked the question about what should the Angels do during the trade deadline to upgrade. So what do you think?
One. Hey, starting pitching is where it's at for me. I think the Angels need a starter.
Yeah.
They need to shore up the 6-man rotation. I think if you get somebody who can be a 2, 3, or 4, I think that's going to help them out tremendously. Mike, my guess here, I don't know if the Angels would go for it, but the Pirates will make Mitch Keller available. He's had a incredible year so far. He's 5-1 with a 2.38 ERA, 56 and 2/3 innings pitched, 69 strikeouts, and a 1.02 WHIP. Mike, he's got 2 years of arbitration after 2023. So you got him for the rest of this year and 2 more years of arbitration. Worth it? What do you think?
I like that move. I wonder if the Pirates would actually want to make that move because they have been, at least to start the year, in contention. And I think Locked On Pirates would be really mad at you for suggesting that.
I don't know that they'll be there.
I mean, you can say that out loud. I'm going to think it out loud. I don't think they're going to be there. And I do think that starting pitching would be great because I think that we can actually fill our bullpen with some of our young guys from the minor leagues like Ben Joyce and Sam Bachman. Mm-hmm. And so I think you go and get a pitcher who's going to be able to eat up some innings for you.
Everybody's going to want Mitch Keller at the deadline. So it's going to be one team or another is going to get him. Whether it's the Angels or not, I don't know. I just think that he's going to be the one that everybody targets. So keep an eye out on that one.
Hey, thanks for being here today for Locked On Angels and making it your first listen of the day. Remember, the Angels play the Twins tonight at 6:35 Pacific time. It's been nice to have these early games, and so now we're back on the West Coast, so they're nighttime games. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to catch up with you there. If you're on YouTube, comment below. Let us know that you're here. Say hello. It really helps out the channel, and we'll do our best to get back to your comments. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
Well, we're playing the Twins, and we're going to recap each of the games in each segment on Monday, and we're going to talk specifically about how the Angels do, if it's going to be dramatic or if it actually is going to be something that they can do calm, cool, and collected. Our hope is that they actually win the series. So we're hoping that they can get at least 2 of these games this weekend. So join us on Monday on Locked On Angels as we recap this series.
Speaking of Twins, how about some home runs this weekend from Mike Trout and Hunter Renfroe? That's what I want to see. Let's go. All right, friends. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, and we'll see you back here on Monday.